happened? Interest rates are up.
Well, that's just one of 4 stories around today that should have investors very worried. Rates are up for the first time in 11 years, a 25 basis point rise, 25 basis points being finance wanker speak for 0.25 percentage points. Sucks to owe money right now, but there are 3 other stories that make it suck even harder. This one, and this one.
Okay, draw the links for me.
One of these stories is no big deal. 2 at the same time is a little concerning. 4 is really bad. Look at the first 2 together. Interest rates are going up to try to contain inflation, which after 13 years of doing nothing has woken up.
Peter, wake up.
Unions are going for higher wages because the cost of living is going up. Higher wages then contribute to the higher cost of living because businesses are passing the costs on to consumers, which makes the Reserve Bank raise interest rates, and so on, and so on, and so on. That's bad. What's worse is when that vortex of misery happens at the same time as this. The Future Fund is this country's best-run investment fund. It is the nation's nest eggs, there to pay the superannuation for generations of public servants. The smartest people in the country are working out where to get the best returns, and they've just admitted they have run out of ideas and they lost money in the March quarter, went backwards by 1.5%. It turns out that losing 1.5% might be a win of sorts, thanks to bad news story number 4. China is whacking up tariffs, protecting domestic jobs. Tariffs means things get more expensive, and when you're the second biggest economy and soon to be the biggest economy in the world, that means everything gets expensive for everyone, which means inflation goes up again, which means wages go up again, which means the RBA puts interest rates up again.
Okay, Chicken Little. Interest rates are still only 0.35% though.
And baby boomers will be talking about how this is nothing and how in the late 80s they were paying more than 17%.
Okay, boomer.
What the boomers don't mention is that when they were complaining about those interest rates at their barbecues,
I'll slip an extra shrimp on the barbie for you.
While listening to this, on this, the house they were in had probably cost them 80 grand. If a boomer put down a 10% deposit, the payments on a $72,000 loan came in at a bit over $1,000 a month over 25 years. Back then, average earnings was about $492 a week, which meant a 2-income family was spending 24% of gross household income on the mortgage. And if it got too stressful, what did they do?
Have a windfall.
I think that was the 70s.
Well, let's look at today's barbecue.
I am smoking a brisket and some ribs.
While we listen to this, it's not the same as it was. On this, we are probably doing so in a McMansion that costs $525,000. That's today's median price. I got finance guru Nick Bruning to crunch these numbers because I'm a journo and so not so good at the maths. A 10% deposit today leaves you with a loan of $472,500. Your monthly payment over 25 years at 2.8% is $2,191. Average weekly earnings today are a bit over $1,300. So a 2-income household is now spending 19% of gross household income on the mortgage. And if that's too stressful, we know what they'll do.
I got ketamine, meth, MDMA, Adderall, bromo dragonfly, heroin, coke.
Well, that's at least less than the 80s, and so we know some boomers did it tough.
Yeah, but that comparison is with today's rates at 2.8%. And they are very clearly not going to stay there for long. Today's homeowner will be sinking 24% of their pay into the mortgage like they did in the 80s once interest rates are at just 5%. At 5%, we'll be under the same mortgage stress as someone paying 17% when the Proclaimers were a thing.
Oh, now that song's stuck in my head. 2 questions. How quickly will it get to 5%?
In the US, rates were at 3.05% before Christmas. They're at 5.1% now.
Shoot. What would happen if we went to 17% again?
So your monthly payments on a $472,000 mortgage will go from $2,191 a month to $6,793 a month. That's $1,000 a week more.
Well, that would push plenty of people over the edge. Qantas has been there.
11 weeks from bankruptcy. That's how close they came during COVID, according to Alan Joyce. And now he's spending $34 billion on new planes he reckons he will need when we can fly non-stop from Sydney to London. He says he's still committed to the direct Perth-London flight, but some people are wondering how long the Red Roo will keep coming here.
It's been a rocky relationship.
Well, look how it started.
It's been 6 months since I've been here to announce the... the heck.
That was at a business breakfast at the Hyatt in Perth in May 2017. The man who pied him didn't like the fact Alan supported same-sex marriage. Alan was here to talk about the imminent non-stop flight from Perth to London. A couple of days later, Mark McGowan gives him an uppercut, complaining that Perth travellers were going to pay more than London travellers. A month after that, Mark said he would launch an inquiry into the high prices country West Australians were paying to fly on Qantas planes. When COVID hit in 2020, Joyce said border closures were more about politics than health. That pissed off Mark, who, as we know, has always been hard for a hard border. They clashed again in March 2021 when Joyce called for a coordinated approach to borders. McGowan accused Joyce of outrageous behaviour for threatening to axe the Perth-London flight if the WA border remained in place. Joyce said screw you and did it anyway. When he reopened the flight, he went to Darwin. He then proved he wasn't afraid of a fight with McGowan.
That's a knife.
By piling shit on the Premier after that Feb 5 border reopening backflip and saying WA was like North Korea.
Who will fly from London to Perth when you could go to Sydney?
People returning to Perth from London, I guess. There's going to be far more Londoners who want to come to Perth instead of Sydney, because Perth is to Sydney what Birmingham is to London.
Thomas Shelby from where?
From Birmingham.
Goodness.
No, not much.
The Poms now have two choices. Fly direct to Perth and then go 4 or 5 hours on a flight to the East Coast, which is what they're doing because that's where the cool stuff is, or fly direct to the cool stuff without being attacked by a meth zombie outside an empty shop in the Hay Street Mall.
I think you're being a bit harsh.
Okay, let me flip it. If you had a choice of going direct to London or direct to Birmingham, which one would you choose?
Okay, maybe you got a point.
Won't be able to afford to fly anywhere anyway. I'm Ben Harvey. For more Up Late, click the subscribe button below.